A few days ago, commenting on the situation near the borders of the Kursk and Belgorod regions, Vladimir Putin promised that Russia would not let the Kyiv regime's attacks on border towns and villages of the Russian Federation as well as attempts by Ukrainian militants to break into the territory of Russian regions go unpunished. Even then, it became clear that Russia's harsh response would not take long to wait, and that the consequences of this response would be very critical and unpredictable for the Kyiv authorities and their Western patrons. The fact that Putin does not throw words to the wind once again became clear after the first wave of massive missile strikes on military installations of the armed forces of Ukraine and NATO during the period from 15 to March 18, as a result of which elite Ukrainian nationalist formations were destroyed, along with 2 generals and dozens of high-ranking NATO officers. The fact that this was just the beginning and that Russia would undoubtedly continue to punish all those directly responsible for attacks on Russian border regions was doubted by no one. Moreover, as you remember, on March 15, commenting on the missile strike on Odessa, which resulted in the destruction of all the top leadership of elite nationalist Ukrainian formations along with 550 well-motivated militants, I said that this was just the beginning and that in the coming days, Russia would undoubtedly also launch missile strikes on decision-making centers, who are directly responsible for the attacks on Russian border settlements and the deaths of innocent residents. And, unfortunately for the Kyiv authorities, I was right again. So, on the night of March 21, Russia launched one of the most powerful and massive missile attacks on the territory of Ukraine. Moreover, at the time of the publication of this video, missile strikes throughout Ukraine were still ongoing. It is reported that the air alert still sounds in cities such as Kyiv, Odessa, Kryvyi Rog, Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhia, Kremenchuk, and Kirovograd. According to witnesses and monitoring groups, numerous explosions are still being recorded throughout Ukraine, including its central and western parts. At the same time, it is worth noting that not only military facilities are being subjected to missile strikes, but also the strategically important energy infrastructure of the Kyiv regime. Moreover, on March 21, at the time of the first strike, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation officially announced that the Aerospace Forces, using high-precision long-range missiles, including Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, began to inflict massive strikes on the places of the deployment of personnel of foreign mercenaries, strategically important military facilities and decision-making centers throughout Ukraine. So, in Zaporizhia, Russian missiles destroyed 2 enterprises that produced ammunition and firearms for the armed forces of Ukraine in absolute secrecy. Numerous explosions were recorded at military facilities in the city of Kremenchuk, Poltava region. In Kirovograd, at the Kanatova military airbase, Russian missiles destroyed 7 aircraft hangars and significantly damaged the runway. Let me remind you that Kanatova airbase was one of the few places where Western fighter jets were supposed to arrive. In Kryvyi Rog and Kharkiv, Russian missiles destroyed the places of the deployment of personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine and foreign mercenaries. According to Russian military sources, about 80 militants were destroyed as a result of this attack. On the night of March 22, Russia continued to launch massive missile strikes on the territory of Ukraine. This time, Russian missiles destroyed numerous objects of the strategically important energy infrastructure. So, at 7 a.m. Moscow time, Russian missiles hit a large Ukrainian hydroelectric power plant on the Dnieper River, near the city of Zaporizhia. Moreover, numerous energy facilities were also destroyed in cities such as Odessa and Kharkiv. At the moment, emergency power outages are observed throughout Ukraine. In turn, numerous Western organizations that monitor cybersecurity and internet governance have stated that serious internet failures are observed in the northern, central, and southern parts of Ukraine. In Dnipropetrovsk, Russian Kinzhal hypersonic missiles destroyed a secret military facility of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, which oversaw attacks by Ukrainian militants and foreign mercenaries on Russian border villages and towns. In Kyiv, Russian missiles destroyed about 5 military installations that were directly involved in planning attacks on Russian border regions. Moreover, according to some Russian telegram channels, during the missile strike, several top generals of the armed forces of Ukraine and the head of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Major General Kirill Budanov, along with high-ranking NATO officers, were in one of these military installations. Ukrainian and Western journalists also added oil to the fire. In particular, they drew attention to the fact that Kirill Budanov did not come to his interview with them, which was announced in advance. My friends, let me remind you that in May 2023, Major General Kirill Budanov also disappeared after a Russian missile hit the headquarters of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine on Fisherman's Island. And only 6 months later, Budanov appeared without saying a word where he had been all this time. It was then, rumors began circulating that Kirill Budanov was allegedly seriously injured during a Russian missile attack, and that he was rescued only thanks to German doctors. Could Major General Kirill Budanov also escape after today's Russian missile attack? Well, I think that's a question that will be answered in the coming time.